take an opportunity real quick to introduce myself. I'm Jeremy Norton-Paul, and also welcome you all here. I am just so honored to have these three guests up here. I'll introduce them very quickly, and then I'll kind of give them a chance to talk a little bit about themselves. We have Gina Sharon, who is the Human Resource Director for Holiday Inn here in Nashville. Is that correct? And welcome to you. We have Tom Woodard, who is Managing Partner for Woodard Brothers Distributing. Welcome to you as well. And of course, we have another Tom, Mr. Tom Nelson, who works for a company called Express Vending, which is based out of Memphis. Great, good deal. And throughout my work, one of the things that businesses, employers tell me most often, that one of the best resources they have when they're thinking about employing people with disabilities is the opportunity to hear from and interact with other employers who have done the same thing and who are doing the same thing. Now, whether you're an employer or a business who has never hired someone with a disability, or whether you've been doing it for a long time, this is always a fabulous opportunity to ask questions, to hear them talk about their experience. So what I'm going to do is give them a couple of minutes just to tell them a little bit more about who they are and what they do, and then we just have a series of questions that we'll be able to ask each of the panelists. And then after we get through those questions, we'll have a few minutes at the end for some Q&A from you all, the audience. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. And Gina, go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, thanks for having me today. I had already signed up to be here as an employer, so it's just a dual role. My table's right across the way. I'm almost out of gadgets because the children here love getting the gadgets, and I'm happy to give them to them. But I have a recruiting HR generalist background and was recruiting for contract temp service before my role at Holiday Inn Vanderbilt. And I had met my friend Tammy in the back, that we work together and network very well together and meet people that have people that need a job, whether they have a disability or they just can do the job. For me, it's a win-win because it's a struggle to find people. And those people want a purpose. Everybody needs a purpose in their life. And anyone that wants a job, I'm happy to interview. If they have the skills, I'm happy to hire them. So it's, like I said, it's a win-win for me. It's inexpensive recruiting. I get to go places like this and meet the people instead of sitting at my desk waiting for people either to apply online or to call me. So it's a lot easier for me. It makes my job a lot easier.
I'm Tom Woodard. I probably got into this the weirdest way of anybody. I came from an advertising marketing background in the music business. I was doing that for about 25 or 30 years, and one day my brother called me and said, "Hey, would you like to start a company working with persons with special needs selling drug kits to the state of Tennessee?" And we've been trying to build a business together, and I was like, "Where are you, and what are you smoking, and why are we doing this?" And he said, "No, we have a real opportunity. There's the Community Rehabilitation Association has a contract to work with the state of Tennessee in providing drug kits. And legislation was changed to where it had to be an integrated workforce, and some of the people who were providing had too many persons with special needs on the floor and not an ability to hire able-bodied people to get up to that integrated level. So we were blessed enough to have that kind of fall in our lap a little bit. So we started that with that contract, and we started with one person. And we hired actually two people, and a little table and a chair and a warehouse. And that's where it started, and it's grown. And now we've brought the integrated workforce into my advertising agency and my marketing company. And what we've realized is just amazing what it's done for all of us at the agency, all of us at the company, and so it's just a total God thing that Woodard Brothers was able to even build.
I'm Tom Nelson, and I'm with Express Vending in Memphis, a little tiny vending company. We've been in business about 10 years. Started out in a garage like a lot of small businesses, and have grown to, we're about $3.5 million in sales. 24 employees, I think, roughly. So we're, in the grand scheme of things, we're tiny. But at the same time, we feel like we've been successful in Memphis and have grown and done good business. And we have one disabled employee named Jean. And Jean's been with us about 4 or 5 years now. I can't really remember. The SERVS organization was one of our customers, and they approached us, of course, you know, since we interact with them almost daily about hiring one of their clients. So we interviewed Gene and liked him, and we had a position for him. So we put him to work, and he's been there ever since. I really think that Gene, hopefully we made an impact on Gene's life, but I know he has on ours. So I think, to me, that's the biggest takeaway from our employment of Gene.
Thank you. Now, Tom, you gave us the perfect segue into our next first question here, which is if you could please tell us a little about your first experience employing a person with a disability, and tell us about how that was for you and your company, and have you hired others since?
I'll be glad to start off with that. Gene was our first and only employee, only because we haven't had a need really for anyone else, and we weren't sure what to think. You know, we were about 10 or 12 employees at that time. We did have a need for someone who could come in and help, you know, rotate stock, pull orders, handle other warehouse type jobs like that. So you know, we're not big enough for it to be a charity job. You know, everybody in our organization has to pull their own weight, and that's how we got started. And we were, you know, Gene is Employee of the Month a couple of months ago. You know, great attitude, always ready to work, doesn't take a lot of breaks, you know, likes to work, goes home, comes in the next day ready to go again. And I just, you know, we point Gene out to the other guys. And so, here's Gene, you know, don't about your job, you know, just come in and get it done like he does. You know, so that's our first experience.
My first experience was working with a young man named Preston Vienna. Preston's father, Jim, is a great designer here in town, and he works for my agency and does a ton of work for us. And my wife and I needed some data entry done in for our CRM, and so we hired Preston to do that, and he was awesome. Just incredibly focused, got it done quickly, very organized, very conscientious. And so when I had this opportunity to start Woodard Brothers, Preston was our first employee. I just turned to Preston and said, hey, you want to come in Friday and pack boxes and hang out with me and listen to Bob Dylan music? And he went, absolutely. So the first day he showed up, we had a huge poster of Bob Dylan, and Nashville Skyline was playing, and walked in, it was really loud, and he just had this grin on his face. And so we were able to sit there and listen to Dylan music and pack drug kits all day. We have hired others since then. I have now 4 young men with autism that work for me, and it's growing. I have a 5th one starting on Monday. We're just getting started. What we found is we provide one of our parents. This is I'm gonna curse a little bit here, but you opened the door for me. So trendsetter. One of our fathers came in one day and said, you know what you're doing here, don't you? And I said, no, sir, we have absolutely no idea what we're doing. We're just loving on your son every day. That's really what we're doing. And he said, you have a free zone is what you're doing. And we went, what? And he said, well, a lot of places that we've gone and been, they don't treat Alexander, this young man that works for us, like a person. We very much do. Before our job gets done, we treat them like a person. So we have what he called a therapeutic milieu, and I thought we had to get some scrubbing and clean up something or whatever because we had that. But looking into it, what we realized is that all persons with special needs, as all of us, I laughingly say I have more special needs than all the people combined that work for me, and it's probably true. All of us want is a place to go and be a part of a community, and be real, and have a story to tell when we go home at night, and something to kind of either move us or make us smile or laugh. So we're in the process of growing that. What we do is we hire them to work at Woodard Brothers, and then we train them over in the agency. So they're learning to edit video and take photos and work Photoshop and do all kinds of cool stuff. And Preston actually ended up shooting pictures that we used in the Salvation Army campaign. They're one of our clients. And so the billboards around town you see in the Salvation Army are photos that Preston actually took that his father got to design. It's an amazing what you will find what people with disabilities can do, but it's more amazing, as Tom said, what they'll do for you in your day. It slowed us down. It made us very pointed on what we say and how we say it in an app. So it's an amazing little community.
So I'm at the Holiday Inn Vanderbilt downtown, and when I went there, we had some folks already there with disabilities, and we have the Metro school system that comes in and brings a group of the students there, and they come and do odd jobs within our hotel. Sometimes they do the laundry bags. They may help clean in the restaurant. They mop, sweep, put the sugars and creams together sometimes. So it's a a designated routine collaborative job together. Probably a handful of them come from the school system. But similar to what Tom number 2 was saying here, one of my, the guy in the dish room, Kevin Burke, he came from Big Picture, and he came with a group to intern at the hotel 5 years ago. As he was there, then he turned 18, was coming out of the school, and they hired him part-time in the dish room. Then they hired him full-time in the dish room. Now he's been there, like I said, 5 years. Before that time, and what they keep repeating is that our turnover in the dish room was like every 6 months. Kevin comes in every day because, like what you were saying, he has a purpose. So he knows that if that dish room is not cleaned up, and I call it his office when I talk to him. So he knows that the dish room is not cleaned up, that the whole restaurant is going to struggle. So for him, he feels like he's the leader in that group. And there's times when we have Vanderbilt games, and it gets a little crazy there, that some of us will come and help. And when I was in there helping him in the dish room, he had me sweating. And he has tips and tricks that he teaches everybody when they come to the dish room because he likes it his way, because that's what works for him. So I was by far not going to break any of his rules. So what happened last year, they had asked him, actually it was at this summit that he spoke to about 150 people, which brought tears to my eyes because he told me that 2 years before that time, he wouldn't even talk in front of the 3 of us. And he's up in front of a group of students with disabilities telling them, if I can do it, you can do it. And I think his theme last year was, we will shine. Our time to shine, that's what it was. He made it his own little theme about what he was talking about. And he was talking about the tips and tricks. And so they were saying, well, why did you do that? And he's like, well, they depend on me. I go there every day because they depend on me. And he does go there every day. That's one of the biggest benefits. Because of that purpose that he feels and that family environment, he does not miss work. He rides the bus every day to work. He's referred his brother, and he worked in our laundry department for a while. Really wasn't a good fit for him. Recently, we just hired his sister, and she works in the dish room when he's not there. So we know that she's trained well because he taught her the tips and tricks. So again, it's the blessing that you feel that, we could have said do it this way, and it never would have been correct, but they see what works best, and then they're going to train the next person to be that way. We also have a hearing impaired person in there. In addition to Kevin speaking last year, he just spoke at a big summit at Willis, I apologize, the NAD conference. He spoke in front of some of the people from Memphis there. And the Dr. Davis that was in charge of that there has asked him to speak somewhere else. So that has given him the biggest self-satisfaction that I've come from this to this. He has a website. He gave them the website address in that group of professionals at that conference. So he's just so proud of where he's come. And when you see that, it really does bring tears to your eyes. And I've hired 2 folks from Project Search for what I think, and I just have to brag on Project Search because they're such a great environment. They bring them in there and they have their structure for that job at the Embassy Suites downtown, and they do it, and they do it, and they do it. Every day they do the same thing over and over again. So they know that when they come to work, they don't just sit around or hang out or just do whatever they can do at home. They're there for a job and for that purpose. So the 2 folks I hired from that group was in the laundry. He empties the dryers, he empties the washing machines, he folds laundry, he runs towels up and down the halls. I mean, he's a busy guy, but he's there every day as well. The other one is severely autistic, and he presses our pillowcases. And he knows that he holds it up, he holds it. He doesn't, it's not labeled king, queen, whatever. He holds it up, and from the measure, he knows exactly which one is king and which one is queen. And he has a job coach, and they come every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and they don't miss either. The blessing for that for me is, again, it was an inexpensive recruiting tool, but I know I can depend on those people to come to work, not like the regular workforce. I said that out loud, yes I did. So it is a lot easier for you to know, that person I know I can depend on, because they're proud to be at their job, and they're proud of what they do.
Thank you so much for sharing. Your stories are very inspiring, and it's obvious you exude such genuine excitement and enthusiasm for what you do. Now, this next question is one that I know is on a lot of folks' mind, and is particularly geared toward business leaders who are very interested in the idea of employing a person with a disability, but might be wondering, where do I get started? And so I was wondering if you could kind of tell us maybe 1 or 2 things. What were your, 1 or 2 initial hesitations, if you had any, or concerns when you first set out on your path to hire a person with a disability?
Oh, sure. We're a small company, like I said, and So we had no experience with anyone with disabilities whatsoever. We don't have a formal HR department. We don't have people who are dedicated trainers. We don't have any of that kind of stuff. So it was just all of just us, you know. And Gene is deaf, mute. He makes some sounds, and he has the capacity of a child, basically. So we didn't know what to expect. Nobody knew any sign language. Nobody, you know, how we're going to talk to this guy, any of that kind of stuff. But, you know, he has a job coach or Gene's helper is what we call them now. And so they came in first day, and we said, well, we need this done, and we need this done. Well, let's try him out, see what he can do, you know. So what I tell employers, other people in the community these days, it's like any other hire. It's, you know, you interview them, if you like them, if they can do the job, you hire them, you know. It's not any different than that. If they don't work out, they can be replaced. It's just that simple. And you don't have to overthink it, really. You know, we've learned some sign language. We learned how to communicate with Gene. You know, I tell people if I'm going into a charades competition, I'm taking Gene because he can tell a story. And so we've learned to communicate. Mostly, is, you know, get back to work and thank you, but that kind of stuff. So you know, he can read lips some, and some of the other guys are convinced he can hear, but he can't. So, but he's a lot of fun to work with. He's become a big part of our organization. As I said, we're small, so everybody's got a job to do. And his job is to help pull orders, rotate stock, which in our business is a big deal, and handle the cardboard. We generate tons of cardboard every week. It's Gene's job to gather that cardboard, get it to the baler, get it compacted and out of the way so we can work in the warehouse. And he won't let anyone else, you know, bale the cardboard. So that's his area of operation. Again, he teaches people how to do it, you know, new employees. So there's hesitation at first, but it's just like any other employee. You treat them just like that, everything will work out.
I thought about this question. I don't know that we had any hesitations. It was fear of the unknown. Life is full of unknowns, right? And we're always afraid of whatever we don't know. So if you aren't employing somebody with special needs right now, or employing anybody, then it's just to start your own business and jump off a cliff is kind of what I've done all my life. And so I didn't have any hesitations. And again, when Alexander's dad asked us did we know what we were doing, we went, absolutely not. And I think by not having any hesitations and just jumping in and doing it, it really helped us. And I was very honest up front with the parents and the individuals that were coming to work with us. I said, we really don't know what we're doing, but we're going to figure it out, and we're going to enjoy working together to make this happen. And so don't have a hesitation. If you do, talk to someone else that's done this, but just do it. These are people that want to work and want to be a part of a culture and a family and an organization. So we really didn't have any hesitations. It was just, let's go.
And I think what both of them said is that you have hesitations. I have hesitations on everybody I hire, just like you said. I mean, we have people that come and they go on break and we don't ever see them again. So the fact of the matter is, you can feel, like you said, you can see our passion and hear our passion. The same goes for them. They're passionate about wanting someplace to belong and a purpose. And when you see that in that person, you know that they're dedicated to be able to give that job the best job they can. Now, the hesitations, I would say, come from some of my managers that I had to break some of the hardest nut to crack. And Tammy, you'll know who I'm talking about. But in my housekeeping department, she's been the manager there for 20 years. And she has very high expectations, which everybody in the room should be very grateful that she wants your room clean when you check into the hotel. But her way of managing sometimes is a little stringent. And so she's thinking, I don't have extra time to manage these people. How am I going to take care of this person? Maybe if I can't communicate with them, all I asked her was the same thing, just give it a try. What's different than them about the other people that have been here for 2 days or 3 months and left? She did, and she is grateful today that she did. And like you said, just jump in and try it. There's no other way to determine. But when they've come from some type of structure, like I said, again, the Project Search was such a great structure that they learned. They knew how to clock in. They knew how to take a break. They don't smoke. They're usually not on their cell phones, so that's the biggest issue as well. They know when they hear a rule that that's what they're supposed to follow. So to me, it could be a lot easier than some of the other people we hire.
Thank you. Now, this next question is one I'm confident we could literally spend all day talking about if we had the time. But if you had to sum it up, because alas, we only have a couple of minutes for this particular question, but if you had to sum up, what would you say is the top benefit that your company has derived from hiring a person with a disability?
Gene, for us, is an inspiration. And you know, like I said, he's got all these things going on, and he's got a support staff, of course, and I wish I had one some days, but Gene inspires us, I think, as a company to look out for other people, you know, and to be grateful for all the blessings that we have, because it could be a lot more challenging, I think. So, yeah, like I said, we tell other people, look at Gene and say, you know, if he can do it, you can do it. You know, it shouldn't be a problem.
I mean, it's simple. It's basically what Tom said. It's just days are better. I look forward to coming to work every day because of it. When I've been in the advertising game for 30 years and coming in and creating slogans and selling other people's stuff and working on major campaigns and all that was so important, and deadlines, and now none of that's important. It's important about how we influence that person or those people's lives and how they influence our lives. The work's going to get done. Work is work is work is work, and you can always end up with it on your desk, or you could work 24/7, 365. All of us could. But it's taught us an importance of what we're all here on earth for. So.
Yeah, I think I made some notes, but the biggest part is what I reiterated earlier is the attendance, and that's going to be cost effective for you, and the turnover. And that's crucial, especially, I mean, I have 100 people, not probably as many as some other employers may be in here, but when you have that person that you know is going to come in, they're going to inspire the other people around them, because then those other people think, oh, well, they can come in when it's raining or when it's snowing, whatever. Kevin, for instance, when he comes in during our snow days, we're fortunate enough to have a great place to give our people selfishly to stay when it's snowing so that they can come in the next day. He'll stay all week if that's what he needed to do.
Appreciate you sharing. And like we said, you could write a whole book on benefits. So a couple of you mentioned working with job coaches, different providers and agencies. Can you tell us very briefly, what are some of the partnerships in the community, whether it's a provider, agency, job coach, family support, whomever, that have helped you been successful in hiring people with disabilities?
Well, we work primarily with the SERS organization in Memphis, and it's a great organization. They're always available to us. We'll step into any kind of situation we may have. They provide Gene's support group, and like I said, I wish I had that support group for me sometimes. They get him to work. They take him to the doctor. They do all these things, for him, and he has I think a pretty good life outside of work, and we hope that he does within work. But they're good people, and we work well with them. You develop relationships in business over time, and they've been great to work with, and always supportive of us as employers. That's the main thing. It's not about them so much. It's more about Gene and his job there and how they can support all of us.
CMRA was the first group, Community Rehabilitation Association, that we worked with. Next Steps has been a great partner of ours. The guys down there are phenomenal. The newest guy we're hiring on Monday came to us through that program. Kennedy Center has been great. Family Resource Center with Addie Viano. Really, I think if you start, it's like when you buy a Jeep or you buy a car and you start to see everybody in town has the same car you have, and you start to see it on the road. Once you hire your first employee that has special needs, you'll start to find people in your family, in your community, in friendships and circles that you had no idea. Church, you'll look around and they'll just come out of the woodwork. So you will have no trouble identifying persons with special needs that want to work. You won't. And they may not want to, their families want them to. And, you know, it's funny, one of the dads says, you know, he don't want to get him to come to work every day, but we're really glad he does, and he's really glad he does at the end of the day. I don't want to get him to go to work every day either. You know, I think it's really important to just keep your ear to the ground, and there's a lot of people that really need your help. And it's not just the individual, it's that family that really needs your support when employing a person. So we haven't employed the individual men in our company, we've employed their families, and we interact with them on a daily basis.
Yeah, I work closely with the voc rehab with Tammy, and it's not always necessarily that they get a job, but they come and job shadow or job train. And we have people stay 4 hours at the front desk. They work in our restaurant or in our laundry housekeeping department. Excuse me, but the project search, and I have field trips sometimes through Next Step and other organizations at the Kennedy Center, as well as the Metro School Systems with Kate Buechsler through all that. So, you know, and it's like what you said, once you network, then you get to something like this and you find other ways to dig into those organizations that maybe you didn't know about.
Truly takes a village, doesn't it? So our last question is one that you have probably get all the time from lots of different people, and it's one that you've already touched on a few times throughout our questions. But if a business manager, leader, someone in a business comes to you and says, where do I get started? Or, you know, what advice do you have for me as I venture perhaps into the unknown territory? Perhaps it's well known, but what advice do you have for employers who are interested in hiring people with disabilities?
Just do it. I mean, it's that simple. You know, call me, and I'll have some people on your doorstep by the afternoon, probably, who have people who want to go to work. I mean, like really work, and not just to show up and get a paycheck. You know, these people want a purpose in their life so bad, you know, like we all do, that you should just do it. And, you know, I tell other people, if you can just hire one person, and there are thousands of companies in Memphis, large, small, if you can just hire one of them, that will help so many people and their families, like Tom was saying, that you just wouldn't believe the results that you would get in our whole community, not just for yourself. So just do it. It's not. Don't overthink it. Just do it.
I mean, that's it. Just do it. Talk to your company. Talk to your employees. Let them know what's going on. I didn't do that, and all of a sudden these guys started showing up at the agency, and my editor would go, hey, wait, this is taking 10 hours. It should take 2 hours. It's like, I don't care. Let it take 10 hours. We're going to teach this guy how to use Final Cut Pro. But I should have done that. So the one piece of advice that I would say is to really talk to your employees about it. Let them know it's coming. Let them have buy-in on it. I think that's really important. Again, I didn't do a good job of that. Luckily, I have some amazing employees that they all have a heart for this now that we've got it going on. But I wish I had gone back and had a little more training, a little more whatever up front for my people. We've jumped into it now. And then find great partners. Find great, your banker, your accountant, all these other people that you're working with. You'll be amazed how important what you're doing becomes to them. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, and I think, you know, just like with Kevin, if you just try it, it will bless you back on the other side. And you know, if you want to come and watch some of my people, you know, we're right on West End, you're happy to come and see how they operate. And if Kathy, my housekeeper, can accept them and deal with them, anybody can. Because she is the toughest nut to crack, I tell you. But it's like the buy-in. I had to have her buy-in. So I said, let's let them come job shadow so that she could get a little taste of it. And she's like, oh, I didn't, you know, then he was doing his own thing and he just took off on his own. So it will work out if you just prepare. It does take some preparation. So if you have them ready before you just throw something at them, I think it works out a lot better.
Great. So we've got just do it, make sure everyone's on the same page, and come watch us work. Those are the 3 pieces of advice I probably need on a Post-it note somewhere in my office when people ask me. So I think we got just a couple more minutes if there are 1 or 2 questions from the audience here that we can ask our panelists, and then we're all set.
My biggest thing is, it's not really a question, but it's how often are you sharing that story maybe in business forums, where you go to HR conferences or business conferences, are you allowed, are you able to share? Does that come up?
I work it into my sales pitches. Whenever I'm out, making sales calls or talking to people, after I get through with trying to get my business in there, then I have this picture of Gene on the back of my notebook. So I go, if y'all have any need for anyone, this is our guy, and he helps take care of the warehouse and keep stuff rotated and fresh and stuff like that. This is Gene, and you need somebody like this. So that's the way I work it in.
I'm a member of an HR group in Wilson County where I live, and I've actually had some of the folks here today have come and shared, the resources that they have to be able to, there's tons of manufacturing moving to Wilson County that can't find people. So what they need to know is where's that niche that they can get into. Tammy, anybody that I know, I introduce them to Tammy so she can take people over there. She and I are we're in network competition, so we're trying to find out the people that she knows that I don't know, and vice versa. And again, we have, anybody that I meet and they're asking for people, I would invite them to a situation like this to hear the things that are successful for other folks.
I'd say for 25 or 30 years I've said I'm in the marketing and advertising business, and now I don't. Somebody says, wait, what do you do? And I say, I employ persons with special needs. And they go, what do they do? Whatever we ask them to do that day. And so it's become a real mantra for what we do. We're literally looking to hire as many people as we can. We'll find something for them to do. So it becomes a part of your vernacular and your conversation. Should.
Thanks for the question. I think we might have time for just one more.
You mentioned that you hire people with autism.
Yes, ma'am.
And often that's the most difficult client I have to face because of their verbal skills,
right,
or the way they express themselves. What swayed you to work with this group of individuals?
Sure. We have an old beat-up warehouse, and we're probably not ADA compliant, so we couldn't have a lot of physical special needs that we could bring into our existing facility. My designer had a son with autism. Autism is something that's very unique in that when you approach an individual, you don't know they have autism until you speak with them or talk with them. So they're treated as an individual, a normal individual walking around, and that really hit home with me. They're all five of our men are in different places. They handle things differently. Some are very high functioning, some are very low functioning. And to me, it was a really cool thing. It was like we get to take the bridge as far as we need to them. So we have one young man that everything's a one-word thing to him. We have another young man who just is delayed, and he can talk to you all day long, but he's delayed. So the whole notion of that, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a clinical anything, I was an English major in Faulkner. The whole thing that I've learned is that I think we're all somewhere on that spectrum in some way, shape, or form. I really believe that. I don't obviously have any proof of that, but we are all uniquely different and need to be dealt with differently. And so autism, it just fascinates me of how it works and why it exists and all of that. So hugely important. We find something for them to do no matter what it is. We have a very laborious piece of the work piece, but the other parts, they get to sort of dictate what they want to do. One young man is a Russian history freak. How do I work that into an advertising thing? Well, we let him do research. So he's become a research guy. So we just try to find something that meets them there, but that's what fascinated me about autism.
Thank you so much for being here, and an extra special thank you to our three panelists. We can give them a round of applause.